people come here?
I think people came to Torquay because of this front beach. It was such a beautiful beach, and it was a safe beach. In my mother's opinion, the other beaches weren't safe, and we weren't allowed to go in the water. Even around at Fisherman's Beach, further along there, apparently there are some quicksands, and apparently one of my aunts went along there with a horse and buggy one day, and the wheels started to sink in the sand. So we were not allowed to go in there, but of course people do today. It's quite safe. When the tide was out, we'd go right out on Point Danger and gather shells. There used to be lots of shells, but I don't know why, but these days there are hardly any shells. I think there were a few local people who lived here, fishermen, but there were mostly just a few holiday houses. And I know over the years there was competition to see which house could have the biggest flagpole. And so leading from my front door down to the beach, halfway down, there was a roundabout, a rockery and a flagpole. Yep. I remember the bushfires in 1940. I came down with the uncle who had taken this place over and was restoring it and getting rid of the old rubbish. We came down after the fires, like late afternoon. Coming down Anderson Street, all the poles were glowing red because the fire came across from Mauriac. And the house, there was a house just one block up, that had gone. The fire came right to the fence outside here, and it was smouldering. It was just a post and wire fence. The posts were, the grass was smouldering around the posts. First of all, there was a mini golf course built next to two bays guest house, as it was, and then they sold the block, and Caradoc Hughes owned the store. He built what is now Growlers, or he built a cafe there. Okay. My very earliest memories, there was a shop there where there's now a house, and it was owned by the Parkers, Mary Parker. And my mother, at that stage, my brother and I did not sleep here. We slept in one of their little cabins. But my mother used to come up here to play cards, and I can remember standing at the little window of the cabin bawling because I'd wakened up. And the story my mother tells me is that Mary Parker used to come in and give us a biscuit and make us lay down and go to sleep again. That was my brother was younger than I am. Two bays was the guest house, and I think people came regularly every summer and booked in there. They had extra accommodation in tents in their back, along the fence line with us. There were 2 or 3 guest houses. There was 2 bays, there was St Heliers and Hawthorne and the hotel. That was about it. There were a number of bathing boxes right along the beach, but each house had their own box. The Scammell had a box directly in front. The bathing box was divided into a girls' section and a boys' section. I can only remember the TIA hall always being there, because we'd go there, when I was a teenager, we'd go there for Saturday night dances. The girls sat all around the walls, and the boys, would ask you to dance. I'd go up with my cousin, but we always had to stick together, I can't remember how I got home. And later on, there used to be movies there, and an elderly man here called Arthur Taylor, one of the Taylor family, who used to run the movies. Used to be pretty rowdy movies. Kids would roll bottles on the floor. And I can remember when Gilbert Street only had a few stores, and Troy's was the main store, and on Mail you'd go down and wait outside Troy's to collect the mail. They had pigeonholes for the whole of the alphabet, and everyone's mail was stuck in their pigeonhole, and you just called out your name and they gave you the mail. Oh, it was a general store as well. In my young days, we didn't have surfboards until I was really grown up. And at that stage, if I wanted to surf, I had a homemade board, just a board with a rounded end. Well, you'd only push it in front of you and come. You wouldn't go right out and surf.
So you'd lay on.
I believe Rip Curl may have owned the property next door here. That was their first factory.
Yeah.
And they had a fire one night. Well, actually, there was a fire up the street, and I jumped up and went up the street to watch that fire and happened to look back, and there was a fire down here, and it was next door. Very sus. So I came running back. At that stage, we were still building whatever. It must have been 1976.
Yeah.
We had a lot of rubble out the front, and I fell over that in my hurry, but I got up on my old garage with a hose, and I was hosing the house up and down because I was frightened it would catch fire.